This episode is brought to you by HASA. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the Bottom Feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about two problems that are kind of related in some way. You'll see both of these usually in conjunction with each other. One is kind of a scum line on the pool tile. Also, if you're servicing fiberglass above ground spas, you're going to see a scum line in the spa, and also foam in the spa, and sometimes foam in the pool, or excessive amount of foam in either a pool or spa. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy coaching program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. And why I say these tend to go together is because a lot of the things that cause the scum line and also the foaming are the same elements. And you'll find this pretty prevalent if you do covered above ground spas. By the way, this is a pretty good service to do. A lot of people have these along with their pool and spa. It's probably overkill sometimes. A lot of people have these when they don't have an attached spa with their pool. And some people have these with a pool with an attached spa and pool. And these tend to have this problem with the scum line and also with the foam itself. And you'll find sometimes similar problems in backyard pools with the scum line on the tile and with foam in the water. So let me go over some of the causes of the foam. I'll start with the spa, and it's kind of related to the pool to some extent, but it seems to be much more prevalent in these spas because it's kind of a microcosm. The water, there's a lot less water. You're dealing with 300, 400 gallons of water versus 20,000 gallons of water with the pool. But this can happen in the pool as well. A lot of the times it's sunscreen, hair gel, certain kind of beauty products also will lead to this. When you're sitting in a spa and it's a small contained area, and I find that homeowners and service professionals don't drain spas regularly or enough to eliminate this problem. One solution to this problem, of course, is to drain the spa down sort of with fresh water. You can kind of control it with a foam down product. You can get a spa foam down. Leisure Care or Leisure Products makes a foam down that's pretty good. You can, whatever your supplier carries, they may have a different brand of foam down. Just go to the counter and say, I need a foam down product. And whatever they're carrying should be effective. I like the Leisure Time product because it's a small container. You can actually leave it at the spa. So what I do with the Leisure Time foam down, I tell the customer that whenever they use their spa, spray a little bit of this in there before they get in, and maybe spray a little bit in there when they get out. And they're fine with it. It's not toxic, and it definitely keeps the foam down because the jets actually will exacerbate the problem and cause much more foaming. I've had it to where like the foam is coming out of the top of the spa. There's so much foam in there. And this is basically just a reaction to all the, junk in the water, contaminants. It could be sweat, urine, beauty products like I mentioned. And this, of course, will develop over time. Now, a byproduct of all of this stuff is the scum line that will develop in the spa itself. Now you can scrape the scum line off, or I should say scrub it. You don't want to scrape it. You can scrub the scum line off pretty easily with a sponge. You can use a product to get the scum line off for these above ground spas. I don't recommend using a tile soap because then you're going to, of course, probably cause more bubbles in some ways with the soap. I like getting a bottle of enzyme and then pouring a little bit of the enzyme on the sponge and then rubbing that on the fiberglass or whatever surface type you have in the spa. I use a sponge, not something that's going to scratch the fiberglass, of course, or the surface, but you want a sponge of some kind. It can be a little bit abrasive and you can scrub that off pretty easily. Again, one of the ways to solve this permanently is to drain the spa down, clean everything out really well, put fresh water in there. But in the meantime, while you're servicing it in between those drains, and a little side note, I like to get the customers with these spas a sump pump or submersible pump, and I'll leave it by the spa somewhere inconspicuous where they're not going to trip on it, of course, or lose it, but somewhere nearby so that they can actually drain the spa themselves when they need to. And I teach them how to do this with a garden hose and how to refill it. Basically, this is part of maintenance that a lot of times the customers should be doing. A lot of times they don't have time to do that, so you can charge them to do this, of course. You would want to bring your really powerful submersible pump there. I don't like using the drain on these spas because it seems to take forever. Besides that, I don't like opening the drains on these spas because sometimes you may have a problem. I've had people run into this before where the plug doesn't go back on there right, and then you're in a world of hurt because now you have a drip leak by the bottom drain. I just bring my submersible pump, drop it in there, and drain it within 15 minutes or 10 minutes, refill it while I'm doing something else, and I charge the customer for my time there. How often should you drain a spa? There's no real cut and dry answer to this. I think it just depends on the usage. Something that's heavily used should be drained more often, but you'll kind of know when you're going to need to drain it based on these kind of symptoms. The scum line forming on the edge of the spa where the water line is, or excessive foaming in the spa. And you may even smell, or the water may kind of smell kind of brackish. I definitely would recommend draining it at that point when you're having these symptoms. Again, the foam down is kind of like a band-aid, but it's highly effective. It works really well in reducing the foam in there. You may want to add a maintenance dose of the enzymes every week in the spa as well. This definitely will help cut down on that scum line. There's some products they sell that you could put into the skimmer of the spa. They're kind of like, I think there's one's called the Scum Bug, and you could put that in there and it really helps absorb the scum. For the swimming pool, a lot of times you'll see the scum balls that are used in there. Even the Scum Bug, I guess, can be used in there. But there are some products you put in the skimmer as well, and it does collect some of the scum. They're pretty effective, but for a pool, I would definitely use enzymes if you're having a problem with constant scum line building up in the pool. You'll find that this happens very often in a pool that's heavily used by a lot of kids or if they have a lot of parties. It's that suntan lotion mainly that gets kind of converted into that scum line. Sometimes it's dirt, sweat, all these things kind of come together and then they stick to the pool tile or around where the water line's at. And depending on the pool tile, I think some are more susceptible to the scum line than others, depending on the makeup of the tile around the pool. Again, the same thing with the spa. Enzymes are going to really help here. Putting a maintenance dose of enzymes in the pool each week is definitely going to help with that scum line. And of course, using a tile brush to brush it every week is a great way to help reduce that buildup around the pool. If you take over a new account and there's an existing scum line, or if you're having trouble controlling it, this happens a lot when there's a lot of dogs swimming in the pool, or even just one dog, depending on the breed. I think Labradors are pretty bad. Golden Retrievers, the scum line builds up pretty rapidly with these large dogs that are in the pool a lot. There's some oils on the dog's hair, skin that causes this as well. Plus, they don't take a bath before they jump in, so a lot of dirt gets in there. And if you have these pools where the scum line is pretty constant and you find that you can't control it, I think a special charge and service call is due for these customers because you have to get on your knees basically with a scrubbing sponge or a scrubber of some kind. Even sometimes a tool that you would use for cleaning a shower or bathtub would be effective. And you'll have to charge them for your time to really get that scum line off the pool. A lot of customers will actually get in there themselves and while they're using the pool, rub the scum line off the pool. But it is a pretty prevalent problem in these heavily used pools and pools where dogs swim in them. And it's not part of your weekly maintenance, I don't think, to really control this. It's really hard to do when the pool is being used and a lot of these products are getting in the pool and getting stuck on the tile. Now, the enzymes do help. They'll help keep this from happening, and they'll help keep the scum line from getting really bad. But in some cases, you're going to have to do a special service charge and a special service call to clean the tile for the customer. And again, it's not part of your weekly maintenance if there's a large buildup of the scum on the tile line. You don't want to overuse the enzyme product because, of course, overusing enzymes could also cause the foam in the pool, believe it or not. So use the recommended dose of the enzymes. More is not better in a lot of cases. Some people think that, oh, I'll just pour the whole bottle in. That'll take care of this problem. But then you're going to have a really bad foamy problem at that point. So be careful to use the right dosage of the enzyme. Every product you're using in the pool should be dosed correctly. Same thing with the foam down. You don't want to overdo it with the foam down either. Just a little bit goes a long way. And if you have a water feature or a spa, you'll know what I'm talking about. Just a little tiny drop of this foam down really helps reduce the foam in there. Another reason there may be foam in a pool is certain algicides, if you overuse them, cause a lot of foam in the pool. I've had some accounts where I've gotten back there and, where I'm doing a bid and there's just so much foam in the water because they're treating the algae and they overdid it with this certain algicide. I think Biotic Skillet can foam the pool up if you use too much of that as well. And there are also other algicides that will also cause the foam in the pool. One thing you want to tell the customers to avoid doing, and this really will add phosphates to the water as well, is don't add dish soap to the pool. A lot of times, kids are having a party and they want to make it to a, quote, bubble bath. And I've seen this happen before too. They'll add soap to the water. This is a bad idea and it's not good for the water itself. And the foam is going to be pretty excessive in the pool, maybe for a long time, even after that. So, of course, discourage using those kind of products in the pool. But the foam down works just as effectively in the spa as with a pool. If you do notice this problem, go ahead and use some of that, and that will take care of that foam problem. It's not a big deal, but typically when you have that foam in the pool, the water can also be out of balance. And I find that when the algicides are overused and there's foam in the pool for whatever reason, using soap or the algicides or different products will cause that foam, that the water is even out of balance a lot of times and it's cloudy. And I would suggest doing your standard shock treatment on a pool that has foam in it. Shock the pool, oxidize the pool really well, use the foam down, and that should usually solve the problem with the pool. With the above ground spas, again, the best way to solve this problem, since you're dealing with only 300 gallons of water or 400 gallons of water, drain that thing down and give it a good cleaning. And I think one good way to counter this when you're having customers having a pool party, and this is something they don't like doing, they don't like having the pool running because, of course, they don't like the noise sometimes of the pump. But having the pool running and circulating while people are in the pool does help a lot. The filter can pick up a lot of this, and it can be something that the filtration system can aid you in preventing a lot of the scum line and the foam in the pool. Now, one thing about the filter, if you have a cartridge filter or even a D filter, sometimes these heavily used pools, especially by a lot of bathers and by dogs, the elements themselves get a lot of these oils onto them. I've had several pools where I've actually had to use a degreaser when I cleaned the cartridge filter. Not very often do I use this product. Of course, for these above ground hot tubs, you definitely want to use a degreaser in a spray bottle. I like to spray the cartridge filters with the spray bottle with a degreaser. Not typically necessary for most pools, but it does come in handy. I find that the D-grids also can get a lot of this oil built up, and using a degreaser on that is fine as well. Whichever degreaser your supplier carries should be sufficient. They're all pretty much the same, and you can just use a degreaser in a spray bottle and clean the cartridge filter, spray it really good with a degreaser. By the way, this will cause some foam in the pool as well when you put everything back together. putting new DE grids in the pool also will cause foam. There's some kind of material or some kind of coating on the DE grids that gets blown into the pool once you put the new grids in. So you'll see some foam as well with the new DE elements. Sometimes even with the new cartridge elements, you'll see some foam being blown into the pool. That's perfectly normal. It's part of the newness of the product, I would say. But definitely use a degreaser if you have these pools where dogs are swimming and where, the fiberglass above ground spas. Definitely you would want to use a degreaser on the cartridges to help with that. Hosing them off with just water sometimes doesn't do it, and a degreaser is really effective. Again, you don't need it on every single filter cleaning, just on the ones where you're having the problem with the scum line or with foam forming in the pool. Kind of use your judgment there. To me, it's a waste of product and time to use it when you don't need to. And with the sand filter, you can actually use a degreasing product in the sand itself. There's several on the market as well. Just pour the product in accordingly to the instructions, and that will actually degrease the sand filter. And of course, there's going to be foam in the water when you're using a degreaser and a sand filter. I've used them before. The water does get quite foamy, and just use a little bit of foam down. In the case when you're cleaning a filter with a degreaser, I just use a little bit of foam down afterwards to take care of that. And this is the problem you'll run into out there. Pools that have a lot of scum buildup, enzymes are really effective. And pools that have foam or above ground spas that have foam, and the foam is an indicator of a problem with the water or a product that was added to the water itself. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.